The Guildford Town Hall, located on the east side of Perth, Western Australia. Join us on this tour of the Middle Swan Valley with Ken and Margaret Richmond. We passed Guildford on the way to the Swan Valley. Next to the town hall was the Sterling Arms Hotel, built in the 1850s next to a convict depot and a large contributor to public drunkenness in Guildford. The hotel is still there and operating today. Guildford was very much a workers' area, and there are many small cottages, some of which date back to the late 1800s. This one, the Taylor's Cottage, was built in the 1800s and has been preserved as a historic site. Guildford and the Swan River Valley has a lot of history attached. It was one of the early areas to be farmed during the settlement. Some of the remains can be seen today in amongst the vineyards. This old piece of settler's equipment was driven by a horse that walked in a circle. I don't think Mark would be very good at it. Early grindstones of the settlers' era. Our next stop is Woodbridge House, built by the Harpers in 1885 and preserved as a historic site. It's also the site of an excellent coffee and tea shop. It's quite an elaborate structure, as Mr. Harper was the editor of the West Australian newspaper and was elected to Parliament. This slow panoramic view illustrates the site. The old stables have been converted to serve as a canteen coffee bar. Galahs love to nest in the ghost gums. As we sit drinking our cappuccino and eating cheesecake, we admire the Swan River to the right. Boats filled with tourists do a tour up the river to visit the vineyards. Our next stop is to take the Great Northern Highway into the Swan River Valley. This map shows the two major access roads, the Great Northern Highway to the east and the Middle Swan Highway to the west. We're going up the Great Northern and coming back the Middle Swan. It's a full day excursion. It immediately becomes apparent that we're in a grape growing, wine production area. There are two candy production areas in the Swan River Valley. The Nougat factory is our first stop. Workers in the back producing nougat can be seen through this large window. Ken checks out the nougat and decides to buy a bag. They also have fresh grape juice at $1 a bottle, and I buy a case. We push on almost to the end of the Swan River Valley and stop at the Farrell Brewery, a boutique brewery producing excellent beer. They've got a lovely restaurant, and if you go at the right times, they even have entertainment, various bands. It's readily apparent that it's midsummer. The soil is very dry and dusty. Obviously, this boutique brewery expects large crowds of people. It's got a very large car park. I decide to try a pint of the Great White, a handicraft Belgian style white beer. The beer is quite good, and I quite enjoy it. My sister Margaret Richmond orders her meal. She goes for a dish that includes crocodile, camel steak, kangaroo steak, and sliced emu. I share it with her, and it's really quite good. We eat our meal outside. It's way too hot to sit in the hot Australian sun, so we sit under the umbrellas and look at the vineyards. Even here, the farming heritage of the area is celebrated. We finished our meal, polished off our beer, and it's time for us to move on. Thanks for joining us on this tour of the Middle Swan Valley and the grape growing wine production area of Perth, Western Australia.